Alright, so what's up YouTube? Last weekend I went to Dallas for my anniversary slash Valentine's Day trip, and I stayed at the Omni Hotel, and conveniently placed next door was the DFW Auto Show. And I thought to myself that this would be the perfect time to do the Nikon Coolpix B500 review. So the build of this camera is primarily plastic, but it does feel like it was made with quality in mind. The camera does have a lot of nice heft to it, so it feels like nice and well built. It also has a rubberized texture around the grip for you to handle the camera with ease, along with a textured pad on the back for your thumb to rest. It also comes in this really pretty deep red or metallic red color. I'm not known to like crazy colors, but this one I've actually grown to like. So on the top of the camera you'll find the shutter button, the zoom in and zoom out toggle button, the on and off button, as well as a rotary dial for your different settings and shooting modes. Now what I like most about this camera is that every time you switch between the scenes or the different modes, there's actually a description box under the actual mode that you're in that will describe to you what that scene actually does for you. Next to that dial you also see 3 little slots. That is for the microphone. And this camera does have stereo microphone. While you're recording yourself or whatever you're recording, you will be able to capture anything and everything that's around you. So if you want to focus on a certain subject, be sure to be close to it if you want to get the audio from that subject. Around the side on top, you'll also see that there's a button with a lightning bolt next to it. Most of you will know what that means, and if you don't, that's the symbol for a flash. So you press the button and the flash pops up. So along the left side here, right below the flash button, you'll see another toggle switch to zoom in and zoom out. Next to that, you'll see a Bluetooth symbol, a Wi-Fi symbol, and an NFC symbol. Now NFC are for Android users. So if you have an Android, you can use NFC to wirelessly transfer photos and videos directly to your phone. Or you can download the SnapBridge app to either iOS or Android and use the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capabilities of this camera to transfer video and pictures, and also use the remote features on that app to take pictures wirelessly. Now along the right side of the camera is where you'll find all your ports, the DC in, HDMI, and AV out. The AV out is used to transfer images and videos to your computer with the included USB, wire that comes with the camera. The HDMI port is used to link this with an external monitor so you can actually see what you're doing with your camera without having to be behind the camera. And I'll explain why that's important a little bit later. The DC in is used for power. So my guess is that if you have rechargeable AA batteries, you can charge those batteries through that port, or maybe power the camera itself just using the power cord. Now the bottom of the camera isn't as exciting as the rest of the camera, but this is where you store your batteries as well as your memory card. So the back of the camera is where you're going to spend most of your time, and this is where all the buttons are pretty much housed. You will see that there's a record button, display button, the menu button, the media button, the delete button, as well as a little dial in the middle for your flash, contrast, macro, and the timer, as well as the OK button to select things within the menu. You'll also find a 3-inch LCD screen that is not touch, sadly. However, it does go in, out, and it is adjustable. You can tilt it up and down. The messed up thing is you can't flip it all the way around. So if you want to vlog or make vlogging videos, you can't see yourself if you turn the camera towards you. So you kind of have to guesstimate at where you are in the picture. I really do feel like Nikon could have included that within the camera, but hey, it is what it is. So another thing I wish they would have added to this camera would be a microphone jack. So you cannot use third-party microphones with this camera. You have to use the onboard stereo microphones that come with it, which aren't bad. Like I said, you just have to make sure that you're close enough to where the camera will pick you up and not everything else around you. Alright, so we're going to talk about pictures now. This camera does take very pleasing pictures to the eye, very well saturated, bright colors, a little overexposed at times, and it has a bit of an orange tint to it. And what that means is that the pictures are warm. That's the phrase for it. So whenever you have something white or kind of neutral colored in the background, you will see that it has a more of an off-white or an orange tint to that specific color. This camera also suffers in lower light situations where the subject might be well lit, but things in the background or in shadows will not retain detail within the image. It also looks pretty grainy when there's not enough light. So when you're using this camera to take pictures or video, make sure you have a well-lit subject, background. Pretty much everything needs to be lit for this thing to be able to get all the detail that you want it to. Keep in mind that even though your subject or whatever you're shooting might have enough light, you will still lose detail around the edges because this camera loves to soften up the image. You can compare it to, like, you know, the Samsung Galaxy front-facing camera. It has like this beauty mode, so when you take a picture of yourself, it like softens up the image to, like, you know, get rid of imperfections within the image. That is what this does. So especially for portrait mode, it likes to soften up the image kind of a lot. It doesn't look bad. It's very pleasing, but it's not true to life. This camera also has an issue with overexposing. So when you take pictures of something that might have one section of it that's well lit and the rest of it is kind of like in a shadow, the well lit area will be kind of blown out. You know, your attention will be drawn more towards that part than the rest of the image. For example, at the auto show, I took a picture of a car and that had, you know, a reflection of a spotlight on it. That spotlight on that car looked 10 times brighter on this camera than what it did in real life. Now, where this camera excels in picture taking is the super zoom mode as well as the macro mode. This camera has a 40 times optical zoom. Okay, 40 times. Meaning that you can zoom in really, really far with this thing. How far? To the moon type far. And it won't be overexposed because the only light going within the lens is actually from the moon itself. So it actually does very well in that category, as well as the macro mode. So you're gonna use the zoom again with the macro mode, and that is used for smaller subjects or subjects that are more far away to get a close-up shot. And after you take the picture, it makes it look like you were right there in front of it. The video capabilities of this camera is actually pretty impressive too. It does record in 1080p at 30 frames per second, so no 60 frames there, which means you can't do any type of slow motion effects after you recorded the video. The image quality is pretty much the same as the camera quality. It overexposes, it kind of loses detail within shadowy areas, it's kind of grainy at times, and it under sharpens the edges. Alright, so who is this camera for? This camera is for those people who don't want something as complicated as a DSLR, but want something more than a smartphone camera to take family photos. This is great for people who like to take pictures of nature because of the macro mode and the super zoom mode. It is also for those of you who want to maybe dip your feet into photography a little bit. Everything on this camera is pretty much a simplified version of what you'll see on an actual DSLR. There are just enough buttons for you to mess around with the settings and how you want the picture to be taken, but not enough to where you'll be overwhelmed. So this camera was made for anyone to be able to pick up and just use. So should you skip it or buy it? Honestly, I say buy it. At the time of this recording, this camera was around $296 on Amazon, so it is below $300. And for a camera to have this much capability as far as zooming, macro shots, video quality, the tilting display, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC connectivity, for a sub $300 camera, this is actually a very good choice. Not to mention, it just looks so good. Now there's also other colors. There's a black version, I think like a purple kind of plum color that they have available. So I definitely recommend picking this up if you're looking for a simple point and shoot, or you want to dip your feet into photography a little bit and you want something to practice on. This would be a great starter camera for those of you who want to maybe up your skills in the camera game. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Nikon Coolpix B500. For those of you who are maybe considering getting this camera, I hope I was able to help you make up your mind. Please leave a like and a comment down below to tell me what maybe I can do better, or maybe what you'd like to see. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content from me, and be sure to follow me on social media as well. My Instagram account as well as the Amazon link for the Nikon is linked down below in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.